The sound came first, a low rumble that did not belong to any piston engine. It rolled across the cold air above Germany in the winter of 1944. The American pilots looked up from their cockpits, searching the sky. At 30,000 feet, contrails cut white scars through the pale blue. They were used to Messerschmitts, Focke-Wulfs, and the sudden flash of tracer fire. But this was different. The sound rose higher, smoother, faster. A flash of silver streaked past the formation, leaving nothing but turbulence and disbelief. The pilots cursed into their radios. It was gone. Not shot down, not even engaged, simply gone. For a moment, silence filled the intercom. Then someone said what no one wanted to believe. It was the jet, the new German one, the Me-262, the one they had only heard about in briefings and rumors. The one that supposedly flew faster than any propeller-driven plane could dream. On the ground, German mechanics worked with freezing hands, loading ammunition into cannons that waited beneath the jet's sleek nose. The Me-262 was a fragile miracle. Its engines burned out easily, its fuel was scarce, and its pilots had only hours of training. But when it climbed into the sky, it looked like the future. Allied bombers that had once moved in tight, confident formations now broke apart in panic the moment that Silver Dart appeared. Major Thomas Hawk Egan of the 20th Fighter Group had seen it once before. He did not believe it at first. He thought it was sunlight hitting a fast-diving Focke-Wulf. But the shape was wrong. Too smooth, too sharp. He could not catch it then. No one could. Now he waited for another chance. The orders from command were clear. Find it, chase it, kill it. The morning briefing was quiet. The smell of coffee mixed with engine oil. Maps lay spread across the table, showing the route to Munich. Intelligence claimed the jets operated near Lichfeld. The mission sounded simple. Escort the bombers, keep them safe. But everyone knew the truth. If the Me-262 appeared again, the real mission would begin. Engines started one by one, sending waves of exhaust across the runway. The sky was still gray with fog. Somewhere beyond the clouds, the German jets waited. Hawk's hand rested on the throttle. He whispered a short prayer, not out of fear, but out of respect for the silence before flight. The formation lifted into the cold air. Somewhere ahead, in the hidden hangars of Bavaria, 2 German pilots were already strapping in. They had been told this was their moment to turn the war around. They did not know that across the sky, a squadron of Americans was coming, chasing a ghost made of metal and flame. The bombers droned in formation, heavy and slow, their wings trembling from the cold wind. Below them stretched a broken patchwork of winter Germany, white fields cut by black rivers and roads leading nowhere. The P-51 Mustangs flew above and around, their silver bodies glinting through the haze. Major Egan's voice came steady through the radio. Keep your eyes open. Reports said the Germans had 2 jets ready this morning. The air crackled with static. Somewhere behind his calm tone was the same quiet dread that lived in every pilot's chest. At 10,000 feet, a thin layer of fog hung like smoke. The bombers began their run. The target was a rail yard believed to supply jet fuel. Everything depended on fuel now. Fuel for the tanks, fuel for the jets, fuel for the war. Egan checked his gauges again. His P-51 purred steady, its Merlin engine loyal and fierce. But his eyes searched for something faster. Then came the whisper on the radio. Bandits high at 2 o'clock. He looked up. Against the sun, 2 dark shapes appeared. They came down like arrows, cutting through the bomber stream with impossible speed. The first burst tore through the formation before the gunners could even aim. One B-17 caught fire, a slow orange bloom against the white sky. The Me-262s streaked past, wings shimmering, exhaust trailing like twin comets. Egan turned hard, feeling the G-force press against his ribs. He went after the nearest jet. The P-51 shuddered but held. The German pilot leveled out ahead, the Me-262 gliding like something alive, its engines roaring with a strange, almost hollow tone. Egan pushed the throttle forward until the metal handle rattled in his grip. The distance between them did not close. On the ground below, villagers heard the roar and looked up, too late to see anything but contrails crossing like scars. In the cockpit, Egan's breathing grew harsh. The jet began to climb. He followed, desperate, tracing its path with every ounce of willpower and fuel he had. The speed tore at his aircraft's frame. His hands shook on the controls. Then, without warning, the jet vanished into a bank of cloud. He rose through the fog, expecting to find it above, but the sky was empty. Just the faint smell of burned fuel and static in his headset. He leveled out, his heart pounding. The others called out sightings, confused and scattered. Some saw flashes, some heard nothing at all. One pilot swore the jet had reappeared behind them, too fast to track. Below, the bombers continued home, lighter now by one. Smoke drifted from a burning wreck on the fields outside Augsburg. The mission was marked as completed. Yet everyone knew what the real story was. They had seen the future, and it had outrun them. As they landed at the base, silence filled the airfield. Ground crews watched the returning fighters taxi in, their paint streaked with frost and soot. Major Egan stepped down, eyes still scanning the empty horizon. He had chased the Me-262 for 14 minutes and never even pulled the trigger. It was not a battle. It was a reminder that speed had changed the sky forever. In the distance, the faint echo of a jet faded over the hills. Somewhere beyond the fog, the next encounter was already waiting. Night came early in Bavaria that winter. The airfield at Lechfeld was hidden under layers of fog and secrecy. Mechanics moved like shadows, tightening bolts under lantern light. The Me-262 stood in the center of the hangar, its skin glinting faintly under the dull lamps. The engines hissed as they cooled, releasing short breaths of smoke that smelled of metal and danger. Lieutenant Karl Hoffmann removed his gloves slowly. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the vibration that still ran through his body. Flying the jet was like wrestling with lightning. One wrong touch and it could tear itself apart. The commander entered, his boots echoing. He told Hoffmann that the Americans were beginning to adapt. They were sending faster escorts, flying higher, waiting for the jets on their climb. The Me-262 had the advantage in speed, but it was helpless when low on fuel or when taking off. Every pilot knew that those moments were death traps. Hoffmann nodded quietly. He had seen one of his friends shot down before even leaving the runway. The memory stayed with him like the smell of burnt oil. Across the channel, Major Egan sat in the dim operations room at RAF Debden, staring at photographs taken from the previous mission. Intelligence officers pointed out the shape of a jet blurred by motion. They wanted to understand how it turned, how it accelerated, where it based. Egan listened, silent, lighting a cigarette he never finished. His thoughts were not on the diagrams. They were on the sound, the strange, cold howl that had passed his cockpit like a ghost. By dawn the next day, the new strategy was ready. The plan was simple on paper: catch the jets as they landed. It was risky, almost desperate, but nothing else worked. The pilots were briefed in whispers. They would stay high above the returning bombers, waiting for the Me-262s to commit to their final approach. The tension was quiet, measured, almost sacred. No one joked. No one doubted what might happen. As the sun rose behind thin clouds, the Mustangs lifted off once more. Their engines filled the air with a rhythm of purpose. Below them, frost sparkled on the fields. Egan led the formation east, the same route, the same silence. The bombers moved like patient giants across the morning sky. The radios crackled with short-clipped words. Then came the message they had been waiting for. Jets in the air. Hoffmann pushed his throttles forward. The roar filled his cockpit. The Me-262 leapt ahead, faster than his eyes could follow. The air rushed past the canopy, a blur of speed and vibration. He felt alive again, powerful and fragile in the same instant. Far above, Egan spotted two silver streaks rising from the fog. His voice was calm. Hold altitude. Wait for them to descend. Every second stretched like a wire. For the first time, both sides were aware of each other. Both believed they could win. But in the vast, frozen sky between them, time itself seemed to stop. The chase that had begun in rumor was about to become history. The morning sun broke through the fog in pale fragments. The bombers were already turning for home, their engines droning like distant thunder. The radio came alive again, jets approaching from the east. The words sent a chill through the formation. Egan's hand moved to the throttle. He could feel the tremor of the Merlin engine beneath his boots, steady and ready. He gave the order. Break into pairs, stay high. Wait for them to descend. Below, the Me-262s came in fast, streaks of motion slicing through the haze. Hoffman led the first pair, the air vibrating with the pulse of his engines. He saw the bombers stream ahead, glittering in the sunlight. For a moment, he almost forgot the war. The sky was endless and beautiful. Then his guns began to speak. Tracers cut across the air, tearing into a B-24's wing. The bomber rolled, smoke pouring out like ink in water. Hoffman pulled up sharply, feeling the jet tremble at the edge of its limits. Above, Hagen watched the attack unfold. He waited until the jets turned back toward their base, engines burning bright but fuel running thin. This was the moment they had trained for. He pushed his throttle forward, diving after them. The P-51 howled through the air, wings shaking as it cut through the slipstream. The German jets were descending fast, aiming for their runway. Hoffman glanced in his mirror and saw them coming. His pulse quickened. The Me-262 had speed, but not at this altitude. Not now. Egan's guns opened first. The tracers streaked across the sky, finding nothing but empty air. The jet jerked left, then right, every movement too sharp for a propeller plane to follow. Hoffman could feel his fuel gauge sinking. He was seconds from empty. Ahead lay the strip of concrete and salvation. Behind, death rode the sound of a piston engine screaming at full power. He lowered his landing gear, praying they would not fail. The Me-262 wobbled as it descended. The runway rose to meet him. Then, in the corner of his eye, he saw another Mustang cutting across from the side. A trap. He pulled up too late. Bullets tore through the left engine, sparks sprang across the fuselage. The jet hit the ground hard, skidding across the tarmac, one wing collapsing under the strain. Egan pulled back, circling once. The German plane slid to a stop in a cloud of smoke. The canopy burst open and a figure crawled out, coughing, stumbling away. For a long moment, Egan said nothing. His finger hovered over the trigger. Then he lowered it. The war would end soon enough. Killing a man crawling from wreckage felt hollow. Back at base, the Americans spoke quietly. They had finally downed one, but no one cheered. Every pilot who had seen the Me-262 knew what it meant. The age of the jet had begun, and the world would never fly the same again. In the hangar at Lechfeld, Hoffman sat on the floor beside his broken aircraft, staring at the silent engines. He knew he would fly again if given the chance. He also knew the war was slipping away. Outside, the sound of approaching bombers filled the air once more, distant and unending. Above them all, the sky remained unchanged, vast and indifferent, waiting for the next generation of men to rise and chase the impossible.